Good afternoon, folks, and welcome into the Resene Wallpaper Inspiration webinar today. Firstly, we do hope that you're all travelling well out there in our current lockdown level 4. Let's hope we all get some good news today at 3 o'clock around changes in levels around the country. Today we have Resene major wallpaper partner Aspiring Walls General Manager Neil Macdonald and Marketing and Design Manager Terry Isaako joining us from their home bases to present. Welcome in, Neil and Terry.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, today's presentation should run for around 45 minutes or so, so we may not have time for the Q&A at the end, but we certainly will ask some questions if we do get some time. As always, please do type your questions in and we'll come back to you after the webinar if we don't get to those today. And Neil and Terry's contact details will be in the follow-up email for you as well. Now, Neil has a very good intro to the Aspiring Walls business in his presentation, so I'll hand straight over to Neil and Terry now, once we turn our webcams off, of course, and they'll crack straight into it. So over to you, Terry.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Hi everyone. We're absolutely grateful for the opportunity to present this webinar, The Wondrous World of Wallpaper. So thank you to our friends at Resene for making this happen.
Great to be here.
To give you an idea of what we will be discussing this afternoon, Neil will introduce our company, our mission, and why we do what we do. I'll then turn our attention to some of the trends that we are seeing in wallpaper overseas as well as here in New Zealand. We'll then delve into a little bit of interior design fun by evaluating space and how that can lead to selecting the right wallpaper for that space. Neil will then talk to the nitty-gritty of the technical side of wallpaper in terms of its preparation, and then we'll round out this webinar with a how to hang wallpaper video. So I'll now hand the time over to our General Manager, Neil Macdonald.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Hey, look, as I said, it's great to be here. This is my first time doing one of these, so go easy on me. A little bit about us. So the wallpaper business has been in New Zealand for over 60 years, and I've been here for 45 of that. I'm not sure where those 45 years have gone, but anyway. Coming down to lockdown last year, and we were put into liquidation. So what's popped out of that is we're now a family-owned, New Zealand-owned business, and we started the business again in September 2020. And a special part of that we learned from being in lockdown was about being there for each other, and here we are again, being there for each other. So what we want to do is our mission is, as it says on the screen there, is to inspire and support customers to be on their journey to creating beautiful walls that they can be proud of. And to do that, we can only deliver that mission with people that care, and people are the critical part of delivering this to you. And we wanted to wrap that up into a video, so we've got this video that I'd just like to play you now. So enjoy.
So on May the 7th, yeah, we got that call at 10 o'clock. We were pretty devastated and made the call to all the staff that reported to me at that time, and everybody was very, very shocked.
Neil received a phone call to tell us that the company was going into liquidation.
Yeah, I was devastated. Couldn't believe that my dream job had gone.
Coming out of COVID, or being in COVID, and then that was really the edge that nobody liked.
Uh-oh. What do we do? Naturally, we go to finances and think, how are we going to do this? And we've got the 3 girls and all of that kind of thing.
To me, it was a day I'll never forget. I've never lost my job before, so yeah, it was hard going.
I made a call to the liquidator and said, you know, what do you want to do? He was locked down in Auckland and couldn't get down here, and I said that I'd look after getting the place all locked up. And then I said, well, the other thing we can do is we can just keep running if you want to, and then you can decide what you want to do. So he said, well, if you can get the guys together to do that, do it. So we did. I went round the guys that were there and made a couple of phone calls.
And all I can remember him saying was, It's a family business, but we're all in the family.
And I think that's probably the day the team became the family, because we started coming together at that time as more like a family, because we were all in this mess together. It wasn't an answer, but it was a glimmer of light under the door.
Actually, if that door's going to close, then another door's going to open, and there's going to be something really cool behind there.
It wasn't my dream to run this wallpaper factory, but I'm very passionate about the business, very passionate about the people, and it was a way through, and I believe that God asked me to do that, and then engineered everything around it. It's been fantastic and a real privilege to be able to work with the people that are in our family.
With Neil, he's got a real heart for people, and he took, this business over, and he wanted to look after everybody. And for him, he wants to grow this business. He wants to be a man of integrity.
With the 20 odd people that work here, there's 225 years of experience. Having the credibility of being an expert in the field is what makes us special.
The New Zealand made product/family business. Big tick.
So the purpose of Aspiring Walls is getting beautiful products onto walls that people can be proud of.
What I love about it is it creates an atmosphere. So for me, it shows your personality.
What's not to love? I mean, it's everyone's attitude on the wall. Some people like to be subtle and some people like to be loud. I adore wallpaper. It changes everything.
To be a leader, you have to have followers. Otherwise, you're just going for a walk. And having these followers and empowering people and loving people and showing them that you care about them, you're going to succeed. It's all about people. It's not about wallpaper. It's not about machinery. It's not about all the technical stuff. Yeah, all that stuff matters and everybody has a little piece of that. But what's really important is the people. And it's the people that make this business.
Thanks for that, Neil. It's critical for us as a company to know the New Zealand wallpaper market quite well by understanding consumer behaviour intimately, as well as keeping a finger on the pulse of trends overseas, so that we can provide a comprehensive offering to our market, and especially through Resene stores. So I'll begin by talking about design authorities in our industry who set the conceptual framework for designers to pull inspiration to develop their collections. So Heimtex is our industry world trade fair, and it comes as little surprise that the framework set attentions the new lockdown world that we live in today. So the idea that nothing new, everything new beckons designers to consider reinvigorating older styles. So a subtopic to this is Revive. Revive wants to encourage people to feel and sense what they are capable of creating by connecting with human skills, where the creative process takes precedence over the product. So here in New Zealand, likes of Ben Masters of Paper Hands, using artisan skills to revive the Mason Handprints collection, which is heritage history designs revived and recolored with your favorite Resene paint. The other subtopic is repurpose. Now, repurpose describes a major process change in the development and design products. We are no longer concerned with creating new wallpaper. It's a way of changing the product narrative, whereby shifting beyond intended creation, using new visual expressions, using wallpaper in a different way. Now, similarly, Pantone, the global color authority, expresses hope in uncertain times as well with their conceptual framework. So the color of the year, if you're not aware of, is illuminating as well as ultimate gray. Now, the executive director of Pantone, Latrice Eisman, said, "The union of an enduring ultimate gray with the vibrant yellow illuminating expresses a message of positivity supported by fortitude, practical and rock solid, but at the same time warming and optimistic. This is a color combination that gives us resilience and hope, and we need to feel encouraged and uplifted. This is essential to the human spirit," end quote. And we're starting to see this color combination might not be the exact values, but we're seeing this come through into the market through this range Kent, which we've released. You'll also start to see the same themes translate over into interior design. So one of these interior trends is comfort and cozy. Now Vogue Living have dubbed this comfort over concept. So it took a pandemic to force most of us to find refuge in our homes, where mandatory confinement would lead to the examination of life, as well as the current state of our interior environment. So we're seeing more and more interiors that are anchored by big plush sofas and covered in textiles. They're spaces that you want to sink into. So while it's not an ideal world, this is an interior coping mechanism of sorts. So there are plenty of textured wallpapers that are on the market today that can help you achieve this interior trend. Another interior trend is maximalism. Now, after a couple of yesteryear false starts, the more is more style is finally making its mark. So spaces that feel collected and not necessarily curated. So it's about surrounding yourself with things of value. So objects that you may have collected when you were traveling that act like mnemonic devices that transport you instantly around the world from your home. Now, on the flip side, even though it's called maximalism, it actually minimizes the space. So we're seeing a lot of busy but beautiful designs that hug spaces. To this interesting trend, which is called Grand Millennial, also known as Granny Chic. Think modern revival of homey design elements that you may have found at your nan's place. So think along the lines of floral trailed wallpaper or chintz fabric, colored glassware, wicker furniture. And this is evident in Pip Studio 5 from iFinger, which we've released into the market. So it's still nanny inspired, but the difference here is that it's bigger, it's bolder scale, it's modern coloring and representation. And it ties in with the concepts that I previously mentioned, where there's a sense of nostalgia, a sense of surety. So of course, being indoors these days, it makes sense that we long for the outdoors. So it was wonderful to see a lot of wallpaper being used on the block this year. I believe this is a winning room from Meg and Dan. So it's foliage, or you can make a grand statement with these tropical murals. And if that's not your vibe, you can long for perhaps Mystic Mountains, if you lean more towards the Scandinavian look, or just take a walk on the wild side and go with, I think that's a leopard print that I'm seeing. Actually, in our reception in the office, it's covered in this. So shout out to Stacey Macdonald if you are listening to this or watching this webinar. The other design trend is raw luxury, and it goes in line with that whole revive concept. So it's actually industrial 2.0. It's about appreciating an imperfect envelope, but contrasting it with sleek and modern furniture. So these are images from our Factory 4 range, which we'll release. With me, with this word, I might butcher it. This is Japandi. It's an intersection of Japanese interior with Scandinavian design, but both are rooted in minimalist design principles. So we would recommend anything that's neutral and light and domestic textured product. So here are some trending ways in which people are applying wallpaper. So we champion the bold, sometimes public spaces of the home, usually conservative. There might be a feature wall or two. So say hello to the rise of the little Lou Reno. It gives way for bold, adventurous designs in the most private spaces of your home. Now, given the dimensions of most powder rooms are small, you can afford to go absolutely crazy. Also, it'll give guests a surprise and something to certainly talk about and making for the overall experience a rather unique one. Another application trend is fifth wall. Now, to give context, if you have been lucky to tick this off your bucket list, so on the left there is the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo, and on the right, the Palace of Versailles, to have these beautiful masterpieces. People are creating grand gestures in their own castles, in their homes, using the fifth wall. And if this isn't you, that's okay. You can still have a unique way to personalize a space and make a statement with perhaps faux timber. This is from Riviera Maison 2, or geometric, that defines the space, or anaglypta. Now this picture here is of our office, and with Resene metallic silver paint, it looks like pressed tin, and it just looks really cool. I just want to turn your attention to some customized wall coverings. Through Resene wall print, which is an absolute game changer, it equips customers with the power to take images that they love and own for copyright reasons and create a wall mural. So you need a high resolution image, at least 300 dpi. It's $75 a square meter, including GST. 3-week delivery, and it's on our substrate, so it's paste the wall wallpaper. Now the commercial and residential applications are huge. The ability to have your own artwork printed to scale, or if you can't find that right mural of a nature scene, you can download on iStock and have that printed up.
I think, Terry, too, a part of this is that this is available from other places, but it generally tends to be on a high gloss stock with overlap joins, whereas putting it on an eggshell finish, quite a classy emboss with the butt joins, really finishes it off to make it the masterpiece.
Absolutely. So in the commercial space, a gym. Now that picture on the left doesn't really do justice. That's 10 meters on a wall, and it's rather impressive as you go into that gym space. In bar areas, now we have recommended to this customer that anything that's wet, to make sure they have like an acrylic over it to protect the mural. This was an interesting case of where this is the Hotel Bristol on Cooper Street here in Wellington, and the project manager was looking for a brick that would suit this. Now, seriously, we have loads of bricks, but it just made sense for us to go in and photograph an exposed wall, and to have that put on the wall as a wall mural. Bit of an embarrassing story. I hadn't seen it in situ, and I had to go and ask the person behind the bar where it was, and it was just right in front of me. So definitely fooled me. This is a project that's on the horizon. It's with the Alexander Turnbull Library, and it's a unique opportunity to have New Zealand heritage works of art that are available exclusively through Resene wall print for customers to purchase. So before everything shut down last week on Monday, Neil and I, we went in and put up this mural. Now the mural is by Charles Heafy. It's of Mount Egmont and 1840. Now, Neil, do you remember how big the original artwork was?
It was a A2 size, because in 1840 would have been tramping around the place. Yeah, so blown up from an A2 to this size here, which is around about 4.5 meters by 2.5 meters. It just looks absolutely magic on the wall. And the library, I mean, this is what they do all day. They look at this and they're just completely blown away with the finish and the quality of this.
Yeah, and speaking of blown away, they were able to appreciate like the brush strokes at this scale. So that's how well the library have digitized a lot of the heritage artworks. Now, this next part was initially to be presented to colour consultants who visit clients' homes. So just some considerations in terms of selecting wallpaper for differing interior schemes. When it comes to evaluating a space, it's important to understand the interior language that can help select the right wallpaper. Interior language refers to similar variables such as architecture or furniture, materials or colour that connect with each other in one space or to other spaces throughout the home. This language would then help determine the overarching style. Once that style is identified, history has shown some perfect pairings of style and wallpaper. So just to illustrate my point, here we have a mood board that's put together. So if I was evaluating the space, I would ask myself, what's the interior language here that reveals the overarching style? So putting my color consultant skills to the test, I would identify there's a black, there are some neutrals, there's some grays, which informs that it's a monochromatic scheme. I would also be looking and evaluating the space by way of the materials. So you have a lot of reflective material. So there are some brass accents, which is like Hollywood glitz. So that's more of a clue on what the style is. And then perhaps look at some plush textiles. There's velvet there. It's some faux textile. So I'm going to call on Neil or Rob if you're listening. Can you tell me what this style is? Can you use your powers of design deduction to tell me what this is?
So my power of deduction is absolutely zero when it comes to design. That's why I leave it to Terry. So Rob, how about you?
You've put an old crusty paint wrap on the spot there. Mine is below zero, but I'm going to go with something with all that glass and brass. It's quite a glamorous type design. So somewhere in that glamorous area, maybe.
All right, you're correct. Hey, just don't come for my job. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're absolutely correct. This informs that it is a glamorous interior, a glam interior. And so we would recommend anything along the lines of metallic wallpaper or geometric, Art Deco inspired, or anything that odes back to like that Hollywood time. Let's go through a couple of these really quickly. So if you're coming across a space which has blues, neutrals, natural fibers, light furnishings, nautical artwork, can you guess what this interior style is? If you've guessed.
I was going to say negative on that one, Terry, but yeah, I'm going to go with coastal.
Oh, perfect. Absolutely. So we would recommend the grass cloth from the Macau collection, something that's light, or a stripe, which is in the Habitat book. So this is very Hamptons. If it's a real Kiwiana flavor, this is one that we've designed in Porirua, which is a distressed timber from the White and Neutrals collection. This is a modern interior, so devoid of embellishments, and this style coined the term clean lines, which you hear often in design shows. And so we'd recommend keep it plain and simple, but with a bit of texture just to warm the space. Now this one can be misleading. So yes, there is ornate furniture. The fireplace is a bit of a giveaway. There's tufted couch. The chandelier is really obvious. And so one would think that this is a classical interior. However, what does throw it off is that there are other elements in the room which aren't so classical, such as the armchairs. They're more contemporary. So this is a hybrid style. So what happens when you come across an interior style that is a hybrid? In my mind, this is not scientific, but at the same time, I'll be looking, this is most likely 80% classical and 20% contemporary. And so I would look for a damask that was reinterpreted. So this isn't a traditional damask, it's one that's distressed and more contemporary. Or if the client is looking for something that's completely classic, then I would go with the stripe. I'm going to call on the old rag here. Can you identify what the style is, Rob?
I'm just looking at the cabinets and the coffee table in this one, so I'm confident that this is mid-century modern.
Mid-century modern.
There you go.
Well done. So simplicity rules here, and it's a mix of organic and geometric shapes. As such. I believe this is the last one. Natural fibers and textures. Green is the dominant color. Exotic bamboo. Going tropo.
I was just going to say tropical too. Look at that.
Oh, you should have just jumped in there, mate. So we've got a lot to offer in that category. In terms of scale and proportion, wallpaper has the ability to accentuate as well as manipulate space. So for example, if you have like high ceilings, you can afford to go with a larger pattern print or a pattern that makes your eye travel up. When in a smaller room, it makes sense to opt for a design with light tones and a smaller scale. Unless you're doing the little Louvre, then go crazy. Or if you have a narrow room, you can opt for a horizontal stripe which elongates that space as well as push the walls out. You also note that's a Pantone color there with illuminating and ultimate gray. When it comes to focal points in design, it's the area that the eye is immediately drawn to, and it's the area that impresses you the most. It's also crucial to how furniture will be distributed within a space. It's also the most dominant wall in a space. So for example, if it's in a bedroom, it could be behind the headboard, or what we're seeing here is it's the facing wall to the front door in the entry space of a home. That picture on the left there, because you can see from everything else, it's quite a modern home and it's quite neutral, that this wallpaper creates a focal point as well as accentuates the architecture. Now, I believe the team were responsible for the picture on the right, which really picks up on the accents that are on that side table and most likely throughout the home. Now, if you have the luxury of space and you have a whole room dedicated to your closet, one, I'm envious, and second, can you imagine what this space would look like if the robe, like if the mural wasn't there? You know, your eye will be wandering, looking for somewhere to land and almost likely land up on the dark fixtures, light fixtures. The other thing to consider here is how the wallpaper looks from all angles. So this is the last picture, from all angles of the home. So moving beyond the walls of the room into other spaces. How is it framed? So wallpaper can also have the inverse effect and highlight non-wallpaper parts of the home as a focal point, and it plays more of a supportive role. So wallpaper is a great tool in terms of demarcating open space. So this is an open kitchen, and while the alcove architecture already frames and defines the workspace and utensil display, the wallpaper just punctuates it further and provides a really strong visual cue. In this breakfast area, the wallpaper is hung halfway up, only to define the eating space, and at the same time making the color of the banquette pop. Defining a space for the study nook, as well as adding personality to an otherwise neutral area. I'll now like to hand the time over to Neil, who will talk about the inspirations range.
Okay, guys, you've got me again. Have you ever done one of those PowerPoints where you've got somebody else pushing the buttons for you? Well, that's now that we're in different spots, that's the way it is. So I'm sure we'll get through those. So look, this is a range of here, the inspiration range. It's there's 12 of the popular Resene colors which have been reproduced on the absolutely top quality wallpaper. So there's two embosses. There's a stucco and a bark chip. So you can see that's the stucco just coming up, and that's the bark chip coming up there now. And this has got absolute best pigments in it for light fastness. It's got the best durability, and it has a better than a 2S fire rating as well. This is a great addition to whatever you're doing with the color schemes with the Resene finish, and that you get with this, you get the design and the color and the emboss, and bring the color in the same colors in to be able to just take it through. So this is a fantastic range, and it's really cost effective, made right here in Porirua, just along the road from where the peanut slabs are made. So as I say, it's absolutely top quality and generally in stock. Just just moving on to some of the more of the nuts and bolts of wallpaper. So if we move on to international symbols, so we have a number of different symbols. There's an international standard, a British standard, European standard, and we're relatively the only wallpaper manufacturer in the Southern Hemisphere. So most of this stuff is in Northern Hemisphere mills, but it's pretty much these international standards are very much similar in all places, and they have this standards that most manufacturers in the world will stick to. So that just running through them, we'll go through them in detail, but running through, firstly, you've got there's three types of products. So there's ready pasted, paste the paper, and paste the wall. So like I say, we'll go into that in more detail. The other important thing with the symbols is the side match. And so that's you have the straight match, a drop or a half drop, no match, and then reverse hang. Then light fastness, showing the pigments used in the inks. So yeah, you've got moderate, good, and very good. Then there's the thing that we all don't really want to know about, and that's getting it off, so that how removable it is. So there's three basic ones there: strippable, dry peelable, and wet removable. And then the last lot that we're going to talk about today is the durability of the product. So all these are really nice, easy ways of you being able to specify what areas you should be using which wallpaper. And so after you've decided the color, you know, which product you're going to use, you can decide in the area that you're going to use it in. If we just move on to, firstly, there's unpasted paper. So unpasted paper is it's your original wallpaper. It has to have the paste applied to the back of it. The symbol's quite clear. It's a piece of paper with a brush, pasting the brush on. This is your sort of your go-to. All wallpapers coming out in an unpasted format. So there's a number of different. The only change is in the non-woven, which is, or sorry, the paste the wall product is has a different symbol because it's slightly different, and we'll cover that off in a minute. So one of the things with a conventional wallpaper is it has a wood fiber backing. So paper, it has actually a paper backing, which is a wood fiber base, and that wood fiber base is on a 52 wide product, 52 centimeter wide product, will expand between 5 and 8 millimeters from dry to wet. So with that expansion, makes it quite tricky. So when you're applying the product, you apply the paste onto the product, and then what you would do, so you'd have the product face down on a table, and then either brush the paste on or roll the paste on or put it through a pasting machine. And then you would what we call booking the product. So you take the top and fold it down to the middle of the product, so it's paste to paste, and then fold the bottom up and do that paste to paste, fold it up. And then you need to leave that for around about 10 minutes or so for it to expand out that 5 to 8 millimeters. And then it would be ready to hang. So then when you get to the hanging of the product, you go to the wall, getting it up the right way, of course, and you would unpeel that booking from the top and then hold the top up, push it down on the wall, brush out the bubbles and wrinkles and things, and then when you get halfway down the wall, fold out the bottom, take that down, and then brush the rest of that out, and then trim it off on the top and the bottom. So I know that's a pretty quick summary of hanging the wallpaper, but that's sort of the way it goes. And the negatives to this type of product is there's more gear required. You need a table. Pasting on a table is always difficult when you got paste going on, not to get paste onto the sheets underneath, and having to do that is a bit of a mission. You need more space, so you've got to get stuff out of there. It's a bit messier and certainly time consuming. So if we move on to the next one, which is the pre-pasted product. So as you can see, that's got showing a water trough with the product sitting in the water trough. And this product has got a pre-coated paste applied to the back, which is a polymer paste, and it's designed to it really the paste explodes out of it when it's immersed in water, and so it's quite dissimilar to most pastes that you would buy. So it is actually really a very fine coating of paste on the back, but once it's wet, you're getting a 1 to 2 millimeter expansion of paste on the backing of that. So the way you use this product is you would you cut your drops, measure and cut your drops the same as the one before. You would then roll those drops up inside out so that the outside of the product, the paste side is showing out. Roll it into a roll, immerse it in the water trough for 15 seconds, pull it out onto your table with the printed side down, and then you'd book it in, and then it's all the same from there, just same as before. This product came in about in the 70s, and the way that ready pasted product was brought in was pretty rude and crude, and it was led to lots of failures, and so even today there's still a huge lack of trust in ready pasted product. And that leads on to another problem, which is when people decide that they're going to paste it themselves. So they mix their paste to a normal consistency and they paste it on over the pre-paste. Now this polymer paste needs lots of water to actually get it to activate. So what happens is it ends up sucking the water out of the paste, and it makes the paste that you're putting on a little ineffectual, and usually there's not enough water to actually activate the polymer paste either. So you're sort of caught with a foot in each camp. So it's not advised that you paste it with on top of the pre-paste. It is advised to use it in the water trough. You can, of course, use it through a pasting machine, which can apply water, or a very diluted paste on the back, which allows enough water to be able to still activate that polymer paste. So still a little bit easier and a good method, which it's been. Just moving on to our go-to now. This is the paste the wall product, and so that's showing a wall with a brush and pasting the wall. So non-woven or paste the wall product's been around for about 10 years, and the main difference is that it has the backing is got a synthetic fiber as opposed to wood fiber. So this means that it doesn't expand when it gets wet, and which means that it allows you to put it straight onto the wall as you go. So applying the paste on the wall is a relatively simple job. There's a couple of different products which we'll talk about later, which helps to do that. And then, so the main difference is that you don't need a table, you don't need to measure and cut your drops. So you roll the paste on the wall, same thing, about 1 mil to 2 mils thick onto the wall, and then you put your roll at the base of the wall and you roll the product up to the scotia or to the top, and then you brush it down and cut it off at the bottom. So it's pretty straightforward from that, so long as you've got it up the right way, of course. So there is no right way up for a roll of wallpaper. I know lots of people think that it should be a certain way, but there isn't. And so what we can do is you can put that product up there. It's the benefits are obviously less space required. It's a lot easier. It's a dry product to hang. The negatives are that it's because of it's a tough product. It's tougher on tools, so you need to be snapping off the blades of the knives more regularly, because it will take the edge off those knives quickly. The other thing is that paste the wall product is has a less opacity to a wood fiber product, so it's more transparent. So if you've got big marks underneath the wall in a light product of paste the wall, sometimes you can get that strike through coming through. So we add to the New Zealand made stuff, we add an extra layer of titanium in it, and we recommend that you seal the wall with a pigmented sealer, which gives a uniform finish. We'll talk about that later too. So they're the 3 types. Just moving on, so you've got within those 3 types, you have side matches, and the side matches are the first one's random, which is pretty straightforward. So it's just an arrow with a 0. There's no match on the side. I think we all got that one. The next one is a half drop, and so with a half drop, as you can see from one side of the wallpaper to the other, the star is halfway between the other one. So that's the repeating of it, and so it lines up. So when you see those 3 drops put together, you can see it's quite a wide, the design appears a lot wider by having that, or bigger by having that half drop type design. The next one is straight match, which once again pretty straightforward, 2 arrows facing each other, and you can see the stars are the same on the left and the right. They're at the same level, and when you see that go on the wall, you can see it's a tighter cluster of stars, and it's more uniform in a 45-degree manner, diagonally as well as up and down. So it's a square design finish. The last one we need to talk about is reverse hang. So reverse hang is a method of putting wallpaper up so that you're putting the same side of the product to the same side. So you can't do this obviously if there's a design on it which is directional, but if it's a textural design, a lot of products can be put this way, and what it does is it just eliminates any differences from one edge to the other, because you're putting the same edge to the same edge, if that makes sense. And so you don't end up with anything, you don't see any sharp change from one to the other. Moving on to light fastness. So there's 3 types of light fastness. There's moderate good and very good, pretty straightforward once again. So given that most of the wallpaper is made in the northern hemisphere, it means that generally the light fastness is not as good with northern hemisphere products. A lot of them are now moving, and they know that it's an international market and they need to have the best of light fastness. But it is worthwhile noting that if you're specifying for a room like in that picture, where there's going to be a lot of light coming in there, you wouldn't be wanting to use a moderate light fastness in there. You'll be getting fading within 12 months of the product. So very good light fastness will do the job, and the New Zealand stuff is all very good. So it's just on the pigments that you use. The removal is the next one, and we have the first one is strippable. So paste the wall product is strippable, and it's another one of the real good benefits of it. So as you can see in that picture there, it comes off in one whole piece. That's the front and the back, the whole lot, leaving you back to the bare wall underneath. This wallpaper in the picture was up for about 3 years. So and as you can see, it was stuck down quite nicely, but it does peel off because it's a tougher, with that synthetic fiber, it's a tougher product. It is actually able to come off in one whole piece. They do advertise in Europe that you can take your wallpaper with you when you move flats. We don't advertise that here, so don't try that one with us. But it is. I have actually taken this stuff off before and rehung it on in the same place or in other places. So it is a possibility, and it's just that's the strippable symbol. You can see it's got the line on the left is the wall, and the line on the right is the product just coming off in one piece. The next one is dry peelable, which is more like your, it could be pre-paste or paste the paper type product, but usually with a vinyl surface. So you can see the line on the left in the symbol is the wall, the line following the wall is the backing paper, and the line coming off with the arrow on it is the vinyl surface that comes off in one whole chunk, or generally in whole chunks. So you would pull the top off, and then what you do is you wet the base with water, and the water will soak through the fibre and reactivate the paste on the wall, and then the backing comes off. So you need to use like a weed sprayer type device to spray that backing paper once you've got the surface off, and then once again leave it for about 10 minutes, maybe give it another, depending on how much water it soaks up, give it another soaking with water, and then the base comes off relatively easily in big pieces. The last one is the one that nobody wants to talk to, and that's the wet removable. So wet removable, you can see it does come off, but you've got to basically take it off with a tool. So that would quite often require a spiking tool to put holes through the surface so that you can get the water in behind to reactivate the glue, or if it's steamer or whatever, and then using the scraping tool to get it off in smaller chunks. So that's not the fun one. Definitely the first one, the strippable one, the paste the wall product is the go-to. The next lot of symbols we're going to talk about is durability. So there's this is once again quite important. In that picture, you can see that's a external corner. So the first one is spongeable, and that's one wavy line, which means that you can really dab it with a wet cloth. If you try rubbing that with a soft wet cloth, you'll end up rubbing the ink off it. It's not designed to be in a high traffic area, and you have to be very careful when you're hanging it. So you definitely wouldn't use it in an exposed external corner like that. The next durability is washable. So you can give that a wipe with a wet cloth, and that's about it. If you try to rub really hard, once again, you can rub that ink off. The third one is the 3 stripes, which is super washable, and that's now getting to the point where you can actually give that a good rub with a cloth when you're hanging it. And the last one is what's known as scrubbable, which is actually done with a test with a scrubbing brush. We don't like putting scrubbable on the product, because when people read that on the label, they sort of think they can get the Stilo out and go for it, and it's not really quite that scrubbable. It's tested on a machine which has like a nail scrubbing brush on it with some Jif on it, and it oscillates, and it has to do a certain amount of oscillations on this machine and show no wear and tear. And so that's how it comes up. So the product that we actually make in New Zealand is to the scrubbable standard, but we downgrade it to super washable just because we don't want it to lead people astray thinking they can hoe into it with a scrubbing brush. So the next thing we're going to talk about is just the roll calculator. So it's always a bit of a toughie working out how many rolls you need. So that's our opening page on our website on the left there, spiringwalls.co.nz. And as you can see, I've highlighted up the roll calculator is just up on the top corner, so it's actually on the first screen, so it's nice and easy to navigate to. And then you pop up to the screen or the box on the right, which then you come down and you've got wall 1, 2, 3, and 4, so you can put in what your wall widths are, and then the height of that wall, and then you come down to the next section, which is the roll width in centimeters, the roll length in meters, the pattern repeat in meters, and then that'll give you the number of rolls, 5 down the bottom. Now, we do recommend that you go to the heavy side of this. Don't go to the light side. It's easy to make a mistake on one drop or something like that, and it all goes wrong if you've worked it out to the last 5 millimeters. So we always think you should get an extra roll. It's a good thing to have as a bit of a spare in case something goes wrong, and also for the future. Just moving on to the application guide. So this is a little A5 application guide which is available at the Resene stores. You can drop in and pick one up. There's quite a few good bits in here, some good information about sealing your walls and about some of the products, paste and size, and other products. So just moving into that one, the first part is sealing surfaces. So with that, we recommend that you definitely seal that with a pigmented sealer before you start, and for obvious reasons, where that plaster is, the paste will just disappear into that plaster, and you end up with inconsistencies of it sticking on the wall. Plus, if it's paste the wall product, you will get some opacity issues with that dark and light showing through on lighter patterns. So pigmented sealer on there, then a coat of size, then you hang the product, and then it'll come off nicely in one whole piece as well. And it's really important, like anything, is if you want a good job, you've got to start with a good foundation. And by putting that uniform sealer on the wall, it means it's going to stick the same in the top and the middle and the bottom everywhere. So really important. Just flicking on to some of the pastes that we use in sizes. So there's a whole lot just come up on your screen. So the top left one, the wallpaper size, that Sure Stick is a brand of ours, and that's a 400 gram pack there, and it does 32 rolls. The next one is a latex size, which we'd recommend for a ready pasted or pasted paper product. The next one's the red one, which is our brand paste. And so the sizes are preparing the walls and the paste sticking the product down. So the difference between the green size and the red paste is the red paste has PVA in it as well, which gives it some more stickability. And if you notice, it's 32, the green does 32 rolls, whereas the red does 14 rolls. And that really just comes down to the consistency of how much water you mix it with. So that gives you an idea. The red's going to be a lot thicker, and we want the size to actually be to soak into that seal wall to cover all the surfaces to get in there and create a nice membrane. The next one along is the blue one. So this is specifically designed for paste the wall product, and it has a blue in it. So when you mix it up, it goes a really deep blue. When you roll it on the wall, after about 2, 3, 5 minutes, the blue disappears and it just becomes just like a clear paste stuck on the wall. So really handy for you being able to see where you've pasted as you're doing it. And if you haven't noticed, that one there, that does 4 rolls. That's the same size pack. So they're all 400 gram packs, those 3 sizes, and that does 4 rolls. And that just shows you how thick that is going to be. So that's what we were looking as a high tack and a low moisture for paste the wall product. So when you mix that up, the mixing stick will stand up in the middle of it without any doubt whatsoever. The next 2 Macdonalds, the one on the right and then going down one line to the bottom, they're both similar ones to the Macdonald at the top is the same as the red, and the Macdonald Direct is a pink, so it's similar to the blue, but it's a pink color. Changes color, comes in from Germany. And then we have some Beeline, which comes in from the UK, which is really popular with tradies. They really like this. The first one is just a powder mix adhesive, and the next 3 are pre-mixed in buckets, and they're really thick, they're almost like grease. When they roll on the wall, they roll on really beautifully. They're good products to use, and certainly my go-to. So you can just take the lid off the product, put your roller in, and away you go. Roll it on the wall. So it's nice and easy to use. The white lid there is your standard product. The yellow lid has got a little bit more stickability, and you can dilute it a little bit for different paste the paper type products. And then the red lid is for fabric backs and things like that for a really high tack, a much higher tack. So just moving into these are all in the product guide. So in the product guide, if you see the one that's coming up now, there's all those products we just talked about, and down the left hand side you can see whether it's unpasted or paste the paper, pre-pasted, paste the wall. So they're your 3 types. Then you've got paint-ons as well and anti-glipses, pasting machines there as well, what sizes are available, the coverage, and the features and benefits. So that's in that little booklet, really handy. So if you can go and have a look at it. Another table in that booklet is the other one, which is the sizes. It also has border adhesive, stick down for just going around the corners. There is a vinyl cleaner as well. The metal and wallpaper remover that's there is really handy for breaking down the paste and getting it to release off the wall. So you can put some of that in with the water when you're spraying it on. The next one, the Beeline Primer Sealer, is a really good product for putting on glass or metal. So you prime that if you're going to be putting wallpaper onto glass or metal. It's a really good primer sealer for that. And then there's always the sugar soap for the cleanup. I've tried to rattle through there pretty quickly, guys, and there's been a whole lot of stuff for you to take in. So hopefully I haven't gone too quick. And the last thing we wanted to do, we wanted to make a little video which just showed how to hang paste the wall product, because it is so simple. So have a look at this and see how you go. Thanks, guys.
Hi, it's Neil from Aspiring Walls here in conjunction with Resene, and we just wanted to put together a nice little demo for you to be able to hang your wallpaper and end up with a beautiful job. So sit back and enjoy. Paste the Wall product is excellent and makes life easy. It is just as simple as putting paste on the wall and rolling the product up, sticking it down and trimming it off. Hey, we want you to be safe during this job and just point out that there are some hazards just like everything, and the main hazards in this is ladder safety, sharp knives and electricity. So just ensure that your ladder is a nice secure ladder, make sure you're not overreaching, try and keep those 3 points of contact at all times. With your knife, ensure that the blades are snapped off and they're nice and sharp, make sure you're cutting away from yourself, and with the electricity, when working around light switches and switch sockets, just ensure that the power is off. Let's be real safe. Like all good jobs, you need a good foundation, so having a good wall surface is critical. Ensure that all loose pieces of paper or paint are off the wall and that the paper can stick to the wall nicely. You want an even thickness of paste on the wall, around about 1 to 2 mils thick. You will need to brush in or cut in the paste to the ceiling or the scotia and the skirting boards, right up to the edge, so that means that the paste and the product can be stuck to the wall all the way around. Now with the paste in place, you can start hanging the wallpaper. Checking the direction of the paper and ensuring that it's around the correct way, we will put the roll of wallpaper at the base of the wall by the skirting. We then roll the wall covering up the wall till we get to the scotia at the top of the wall. We will then line up the left hand side to the corner of the wall and brushing out to the right. Then we take our rubber roller, we roll out from left to right because we don't want the product to move around the corner, we want it to stay on the left and we want to roll it to the right. So the idea is to get the product hanging nice and straight down the wall and with no air bubbles, no creases underneath, sitting there looking pretty and flat against the wall. Now if you get to this stage and you're not quite happy with the way it is, you can take it back off again and re-hang it. Please take your time. Once we've finished, we come down to the bottom and we grab our straight edge. Pushing in and keeping at approximately 45-degree angle cut downward into the top of the skirting board. We're now ready to paste for the next drop. We need to paste for the width of the wallpaper that we're pasting, plus around 100 mil. So when we do the next pasting, we don't have to get paste on top of the wallpaper. Place the left-hand edge of the product, lining it up, and we push it in so it butts up nicely as well. So we keep working our way down the seam on the left-hand side, brushing it out to the right as we go. Then we get our roller again and we roll out all the air bubbles and the wrinkles. We then cut the bottom off with the skirting. Once again, same as the last two drops. This time we'll be pasting all the way to the corner because that's as far as we want the wallpaper to go to. And now we're going to come across the top and down the right hand side to trim that excess off. Cut right into the corner as close as you can get it. Pull that back from the wall if you need to and continue those cuts on. Take all your excess off and push the paper into the corner, and there you go. Now you need to go through and clean the wall. Wipe down the skirting boards across your scotia. Just make sure you've cleaned all the paste up off the seams as well, and there you have it. Beautiful. Thank you for listening to this demonstration. My hope is that it's made your project go a little easier and that you will have walls that are beautiful and you will be proud of. Thank you for choosing Resene to bring you the Aspiring Collection.
So thanks guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and you can see we've got our emails there on the bottom. If you've got any questions you want to come through, we've gone a little bit longer than we should have, so we'll just leave it at that. Any final words, Terry?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to present. Hopefully you've been inspired, and yeah.
And yeah, thanks Rob. Thanks Rob for the invitation to be able to come and talk. It's been fantastic, and the relationship that we have with Resene is just something which is absolutely to be treasured by us. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil, for the kind words. Yep, we feel the same way. It's been a long-standing relationship with Aspiring Walls, and that presentation today was outstanding. I'm sure that there's all of our viewers and attendees are all inspired now to get out there and not only be specifying wallpaper but hanging some themselves. So particularly with your training clip there at the end, it made it look very, very easy. I'm sure it's not quite as easy as you made it look. Now we are at the end of the time. We have gone to 60 minutes, but I am actually going to ask one question because it is one that comes up for us at Resene a fair bit, particularly in our specifying team when we're dealing with architects and specifiers out there, and that is around fire group ratings for wallpaper, and do they affect the substrate's own fire group rating? I think you touched on it earlier in the presentation today, but I just wouldn't mind you clarifying that for us.
Okay, so the products we import, we normally have fire ratings, but they're European fire ratings. Some of them have conversion over to the New Zealand Australia standards, but not always. Certainly though, the New Zealand products that we make, what we did was we made a very heavy vinyl with a black, and we got that tested and it came up with a 2S. And so brands have given us a rating which says that anything that we make here is going to be at least 2S fire rated. And so a lot of those products, certainly as inspirations, are probably 1S. And if they needed to be tested individually, it's quite a bit of money to get each product tested, and we do about 5,000 different products. So it's a way we can do it. But if we need to do a fire rating on a particular product, you'll find that New Zealand made stuff will probably be a 1S, but at the very worst will be a 2S, if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Yep, very good. Thanks for that. Righto, well, we have had quite a few other questions come in, so we'll get, for those that have asked them, we'll definitely come back to you next week at some point with those answers. But thanks again, Neil and Terry, for your presentation today. It's been very much appreciated. And as I mentioned, I'm sure that our attendees have got a heck of a lot out of that today. So thanks, folks, for tuning in. Have a great day. Stay safe out there, and we will catch you at our next webinar. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
See you later.